I like playing games as an outlet and for relaxing. Sometimes it helps with a little bit of creative relaxation. It also allows me to practice my socialization skills, to be able to talk to people that have common interests. It's a good starting point. And it also helps you reach out to people who are outside your immediate circles. Lastly, it also taught me how to assess situations since you're encountering strangers basically. So it taught me how to withhold information, what type of information to withhold from online people, even before I started going on Facebook, for example, and interacting with other people there on a more personal profile. That's why later on, when I joined Facebook, I treated it a little more similar to how I approached games, which is to not give out too much information besides what is necessary.
For me, I guess it would have to be like, I guess playing video games, especially online video games over the years. It's maybe a little bit more determined when it comes to things, a little bit more patient, a better team player. Because when you're playing video games online, that of course you have to play with other people. Everyone has different skill sets, attitudes, and temperaments. So it really teaches you how to adjust with playing against other people, with other people. I think, it makes you a bit more cooperative. That was like one of the more positive influences of video games for me.
Our first guest is not new to CyberGuardians PH. He was with us during our ecosystem activation workshop last March 2019. He shared with us then his inspiring story, which I am sure all online gamers and parents would be able to learn from. He has battled gaming addiction for over 30 years. That's a really long time. He is married to Jennifer Tanchi, and they have been blessed with 3 beautiful children, Keegan, Taylan, and Trayson. He has an MBA from the Wharton School of Business, and he is currently the Chief Financial Officer for a local real estate developer named Axea. Let us welcome on CyberChat, Mr. Peter Tanchi Jr. Good day, Peter.
Good day. Thank you for having me.
Peter, let me ask you, how old were you when you were first exposed to online gaming? Can you share with us what were these online games you played and why you got hooked into them?
Sure, but I have to start a little farther back. My first exposure to gaming was when I was very young, more in like my 7 to 10 years old range. And it was back then, it was just an Apple II Plus computer, which only had a monochrome screen. For those of you who don't even know what monochrome means, it's just a green screen. And I would play small games on that, but there was something fantastic about games that I loved. And from that time on, I remember having a hunger to play games. And the first time I was exposed to what I would call network gaming, because back then it was new, this online gaming thing, was in college already with a game called StarCraft. And I would remember that me and my friends, we would try to go to a cafe, a computer cafe, and play these games over a network together. So we would play StarCraft until the wee hours of the morning. There was a cafe called Blue Skies. And I really have these fond memories of that. That was my first exposure. And I was trying to think what attracted me to these games, right? What made them fun? And there's 5 things I'll just highlight. One thing was they actually are fun. It's just fun to play games. And people love board games. Computer games are like a souped up version of board games. So there was that basic element of fun. But what made it even better was you can now have fun with people. You're no longer just gaming on your own. And having a community did a couple of things for me. It's the sense of accomplishing something together. So you have a team and you're fighting against a computer or against 5 other guys. And when you win, you have this sense of achievement. and you did it with your friends. So that was very appealing for me. A lot of these games require teamwork, and the teamwork is actually complex. So different people do different things. And when you work together well, your team actually will win. So I enjoyed that accomplishment. It was challenging. Another thing I really enjoyed was the sense of growth. In many of these games, you will what they call level up or get better equipment or build better, things. Back then in StarCraft, you would build different base items to generate better units. And that was so geeky, right? But that was so fun to get better. And then there was that sense of wonder where, you see something fantastic. And nowadays, where we're all in our homes doing nothing, I imagine people are going online to explore and see new things. And gaming is one of the quickest ways to experience that sense of wonder with very little risk. The last thing I want to share is just a sense of security. I think with so much uncertainty in real life in general, right? Stress at school, games provide an escape, an easy escape. It's like, okay, everything can be going bad, but you're looking forward to going home and just forgetting real life. So all of these things I remember appealed to me as a gamer. And when they're all together, the pull is very strong.
And as you were getting deeply into the world of online gaming, didn't your parents notice anything? How were you able to keep this thing from them?
They weren't aware of what I was getting into, and I think that was a challenge for them. And I would play at night when they were asleep. So they didn't know that when everyone went to bed at like 9 or 10, I would stay up. My gaming was just beginning. I would stay up until 2, 3, 4. So I remember those nights, and they didn't know that back then. I hid it from them, actually. And these are some of the signs of an addiction, actually. One is you hide it from your parents. You don't want them to know that you don't have control. And I had no interest in anything else. Like, I remember we would go on vacation. We were at the Grand Canyon, and all I wanted to do, because it was Las Vegas, I wanted to find an arcade. And I just wanted to go to the arcade to play. I didn't want to go and explore the Grand Canyon. And you see it nowadays. I've been to resorts, and you look at the kids, and there's a beach in front of them, but they're all on their phones.
Yeah, they're hooked in their gadgets.
Yeah. And because it is that appealing. I mean, it is fun. It is really fun. The guys who design games, they study human behavior and they make them very addicting. So that's a challenge.
You mentioned some of the thrills that online gaming gave you. What other feelings do you remember the most while we were into these online games?
For me personally, I enjoyed leveling up. So I enjoyed getting better in the games. And unfortunately, what it did for me, it took away, I believe in every person is this desire to do and accomplish, this drive that has been given. You've heard that comment, right? He's very driven. And what I noticed about gamers, and I saw this in myself, is the drive we have, it is sucked into the digital world. So I loved leveling up. I would enjoy taking a character from level 0 to level 50. And I would enjoy with that character getting all this equipment. So it was in a game called World of Warcraft. I remember that was very addicting for me. And we would actually go on something called raids, which is you have a group of players and you would plan a schedule. And when you would go to a dungeon in the game and you would beat the dungeon. So it's like, in today's world, it's like a group of friends going on a mission, right? To help some needy community. But instead of doing that, which is something people should be driven to do, right? To help make the world a better place.
In real life.
Yes, all that energy is channeled to a digital world. So we're gonna go into this digital world. We're gonna conquer the dungeon together. We're all gonna get better weapons. We're gonna become better people. Sounds like real life. And it's very appealing because I believe in all of us is that God-given desire to achieve and accomplish and do things for others. But when you have a game to do it, it's so much easier, right? Think about it. What's easier, to spend 1 year working out so you can see some muscles, or to spend 5 hours and see your character go from level 0 to level 5? That's so much easier, right? Because you don't have to wait. So games sort of accelerate this feeling of accomplishment However, it's all an illusion.
It's
And
all an illusion.
yeah, and that's a challenge. It's really a huge challenge. And it was for me. I was completely sucked into it. And I just want to highlight there are different kinds of games and they do different things for different people. Mine was always the leveling games and then the competitive battles. I enjoyed winning. I really, up to now, when I play basketball, you can ask any of my friends, I'm very competitive. I will practice on my own so that I'll be better in a game, not in a real game. But in video games, you can practice and then you get better and then you win. So there's that same, your reflexes get faster. And games are not all bad, right? I mean, there are studies that show that it's good to learn to multitask. The challenge is often it takes over and it becomes so completely, addictive that those who are addicted to it do nothing else. I just want to mention some of the games that are very addicting nowadays. Back then, for me, it was World of Warcraft, StarCraft. But what's very addicting now is like Dota, Defense of the
Dora.
Ancients. In fact, the Philippines has two very popular teams, Team Mineski, I think, and then TNC. And sometimes I will watch their games. I admit, last year there was a tournament, and the grand prize was like more than $10 million. Can you imagine 5 guys plus their coach? They will split $10 million. That's a huge amount of money. That's like you never have to work for the rest of your life. So there's also that appeal. There's also Apex Legends. There's Fortnite, and the Fortnite champion, I think, it's also like $1 million or something. So games have become mainstream. So I'm not against gaming. I actually think it's fun if you can control it. And that's a big if. You have to know yourself.
You mentioned a while ago that there's this inherent desire in each one of us to do good things for our community. The problem in the gaming world is that your good intentions are not really translated into real action. So that's one of my takeaways from what you just said.
Yeah, I know so many gamers and they're so smart, but they don't have a passion to do stuff in the real world. For example, raising a family. Raising a family is one of the biggest challenges you'll ever experience in your life. But if you're just focused on gaming, you do not develop any of the skills, both social and character skills necessary to be a good father. So what happens is you kind of grow up like, there's a show that came out, it's called Failure to Launch. It was by I think Matthew
I've
McConaughey
seen
was,
that.
yes, it's like this, you're a grown man, but your mind and your feelings are all like a child because all your energy was spent online and you never really developed who you really are supposed to be. It's a bit of a challenge. And what I really regret is I didn't invest in my friends. And I'm, by God's grace, during this lockdown, I've actually been able to have Zoom calls with our batchmates. So I'm getting to know them again in reverse. But back then, my life would revolve around studying, gaming, and then playing basketball at the court. I didn't invest in people. So one of the biggest impacts to me of the gaming was just I didn't spend time with people. I would spend time with people online, but not in person. But I think everyone has to understand, look behind what I'm saying, and as you listen to me, if you are someone who is addicted to gaming, not everyone is addicted to gaming. I think it's you have to realize that, like, I'm not addicted to Netflix. I don't have a desire to watch Netflix for 3 hours at night, Korean dramas. I'm not addicted to social media. I can get on Facebook for 5 minutes and put it away, but I'm more addicted to gaming. So I think if you are addicted to something, it'll affect you wherever you are. It's the same thing with drugs and gambling. So gaming has that effect on me, like the dopamine, the excitement. I remember the thrill when I would be on my way home from school. I wouldn't be thinking about starting my studies. I'd be thinking about getting on my computer, and that's all I could think about. So I wouldn't study. And so that was the impact to me in college.